Hello, welcome to Being Reintegrated. I'm Tim Wright, as you know by now, but if you're seeing this on YouTube, go to my Patreon. I am working on a lot of this material. So, the reason why I wanted to make this video is we're introducing a brand new book, soon to be released on Amazon, Echoes of Emotion. Now, what this book is, geez, we're so fortunate, should I say, for the unknown emulator, an unknown emulator. He doesn't even want to go by the unknown emulator. He's an unknown emulator who translated the Red Book, has again pulled off the miraculous and translated part 2 of the Echoes of Emotion. And what this is. It takes a lot of words to tell you about it. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for coming around and watching all these videos. So I should start off by, this book is unlike any book we've ever experienced from this tradition. I went into the actual study of this years ago when I was made aware of it. I'm being vague on purpose. So what we're doing is, in the late 18th century, what's called somnambulistic experimenters started doing their work with the principles of Mesmer. But what was happening was Jean-Baptiste Willermoz was extremely involved with these somnambulistic experimenters. So what happened was they had a really deep experience. And a lot of the times the language and the, not strategies, but the language and structure of speaking was geared toward the esotericism of the French Enlightenment period, which Alfred Gabet has called the covert Enlightenment. It's an 18th century counterculture and its aftermath, the covert Enlightenment. And I'll show you a copy of it right there, but it's a hard book to get. So basically what happens is these mesmerists were involved in all of this psychic material. They were basically the spiritualists before there were spiritualists. I gotta drink coffee for this one. Because what was happening was they were having these, what we call in the tradition, and what has been known through lots and lots of people, that it's an overlighting of the personality, where a specific kind of group mind takes over your mind and you start usually automatically speaking. This happened throughout history, so it's not just one freaky circumstance. I mean, this happens all the time if you know your historical material. First starting with the Sibyls and the Pythia, I think they call it, of Delphi. The tradition of this kind of spiritual overtaking is huge. And that's pretty much what we're going to talk about here. So, the somnambulists were people who were sleep deprived. They believed that when you became somnambulistic and basically craving sleep, that you got into a mind that was capable of receiving these kind of messages. So, they were very sleepy people. And they were weary. So no rest for the weary takes on a different meaning here. So what happened was royal people and the bourgeoisie and all kinds of details that you can add to this particular period, because this was the group of specialists who were meeting up for the sake of doing specialty stuff. So what I would liken this to is the voodoo tradition from Haiti. And if you see a tie there with Martinez, then okay, fine, that could be true. But what happens is the individual becomes possessed by a spiritual entity. This we won't make any joke about or any kind of qualms about. This has happened multiple times through so many groups. I mean, I could list them, but it would bore you, and it wouldn't make sense, because it would be like, why are you talking about all these freak shows? We got, throughout history, we have these overlighted individuals who happen to be the receptacle of these spiritual intelligences. And this happened all through history, so it wasn't just a limited thing for the creepy 18th century covert enlightenment, though it culminated and came to a crescendo at this time. So what happened is Anton Mesmer put forth his thesis that everything that's going on has a substrata of magnetism and polarities, and all of his what we call now pseudo psychological kind of understanding. It's parapsychology, and this was something that interests the royal classes. So we got into this with these groups, and what happened is Willermoes was rich, so he funded this kind of material. Now, this kind of material was very hush-hush. It was only in Willermoe's notebooks that we become aware of it even happening. The unknown agent burnt all of what Alice Jolie in this book calls him, but it's actually her. She overshadowed a version of this spiritual intelligence that she wrote and wrote and wrote, journal after journal after journal. So this study by Alice Jolie is on that particular vein of material. Now, it goes everywhere in history. The spiritualists got a hold of it. Blavatsky got a hold of it. Probably even back to the days of Hermes Trismegistus. You're seeing, Poimandres get out into his dialogues of the Poimandres, saying, I want to know everything there is to know. And then this presence called Hermes Trismegistus comes and starts talking to Poimandres. So it's big. This is not something that is just isolated to one cultural group, to one period in time, and it's not just a eccentricity of the royal people in France at that time. This is a major spiritual technology, and that's why we're producing it. So Echoes of Emotion goes through Alice Jolie's study of these particular spiritual adepti. And then we have I always call him the unknown emulator, but unknown emulator, who translated the Red Book, has translated a portion, well, actually all of Durmanham's book, but Kim Publishing, has only published the part that relates to the somnambulists. So, along with each one of these experiments, I think there's a handful of them, 10 or so, you also get a Mesmer analysis of the experience. So Mesmer, I used tools that I have at my disposal and went through a Mesmer analysis of all of this material. Now, what I wanted to do, which you can find in Gabay's book, is the importance of Pessagur. Marcus, I think is his first name, Pessagur, is actually an adept in the inner circle of Willermoes and all of these French Enlightenment. So that was a student of Mesmer that also came from the other side of the veil, which was Willermoes and his incorporation and inculcation of the teachings of this kind of spiritual parapsychology way for the royal people in France, the sleepies, the sleepy ones. So we're extremely blessed to be able to have this work. I became a bookmaker, as you know, a little bit of self-aggrandizement here. I became a bookmaker, owned the publication rights, owned the press, and now we are making for the first time a complete volume here. You'll hear me talk in the future about one of the key figures, which is Monspi, but we're putting to rest the garbage about La Chose. Everybody talks about La Chose like they know what they're talking about. They do not. So what we're doing here is we're putting forth an academic work by Alice Joly, who was the librarian in the Lyons library during the time that all of this stuff was being resurrected, not to use a pun for the order des Coens ressuscités. Also, I have added as an introductory a little bit of prefatory remarks, which includes my translator note. And this is very important to know because you really shouldn't use this book to bash an individual for being an expert because they're not using French accent marks. I mean, if that's your entire argument, you're ridiculous. Go away. Like, that's just not what we're here to do. This is not why the press exists, to waste time doing this effort. So, in this book, we have in the introduction, which I wrote, and it's a little bit of a personal problem because I had this happen to me openly as the face of the publishing arm. They bashed me and said I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm reading it here in the open for all my books because this is the intention. Rather than negligence, it's this here. This book is clearly not in French. And one of the key distinctions of the French language is the use of accent marks. While these accents are crucial in French for correct pronunciation and meaning, they are often irrelevant to an English reader. In many cases, inserting these accents can be a tedious process. I have to press an alt code 0235 every time you want your E with 2 dots on it. I know what I'm doing. I chose not to, and here's why. For example, words like Cohen, with its various accentuated E variations, which there's 6 of them, don't carry a different meaning in English when the accents are omitted. While these accents are essential when reading in French, they are superfluous in an English publication and don't alter the understanding of the text. Therefore, they have been intentionally omitted to streamline the reading process and focus on the content rather than on French accents. And now, if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, note on accents. French accents such as the accent aigu, accent grave, accent circonflexe, accent trema, and cedille are crucial in French for distinguishing sounds and meanings. However, I'm going to say it again. In an English context, their omission doesn't detract from the meaning and can be seen as unnecessary for the target audience. You know who you are, who made me write that. But that's my one time going blah, and you saw it. You see it, you're gonna see it in every one of my books. I know your argument. It's a straw man argument. It's ridiculous. Stop saying it. So that note is for anything in French that you're going to read as an English native speaker and not care about any of the accents. If you do care, I acknowledged it. So come with another story. Now, what we're really doing here is we're discovering the trance state of the individual. As Pessegur says, that Mesmer tapped into something that every individual is actually afflicted with. You may think, oh, this is weird. They're in some kind of somnambulism and they're super sleepy, go take a nap and be normal. But really, what Pessegur says is an obsession with excess materialism is a trance. You're in a trance state. You do not know it. This trance state has markers in it, which were studied by Richard Bandler and John Grinder in the massively popularized but really poorly used neurolinguistic programming that came from linguists. So they knew back in the 1700s what Bandler started talking about through the work of MI6 and linguists like John Grinder. That was what the basis of this is that if you're a materialist, you're in a trance. And this is why Mesmer's principles are so solid, because these sleepy people are like what Jung says in the 7 Sermons of the Dead, that we came back from Jerusalem and we did not find what we are looking for. You materialists, me too probably, are going to come back from the materialistic trance and not find what you're looking for. Not find what we're looking for. This book is a boon to humanity. It may seem like it's a superfluous translation, like it's extra, like it's eccentric. Go ahead and make your evaluations based on that limited perspective, because those are words that come from this trance, not from your enlightenment. Enjoy.